So guys, you may have noticed already, if not then you're going to get a notification when this goes live, that the videos are back. They're back from being unlisted and the website's back. And the reason for that is, the reason I'm making this video. I wasn't planning on making this video. Things just happened. So, it's a long story to explain how I got this, but early this morning I was looking for some images and I was talking to someone about Jake Lloyd, and I used Google and this shows up. I don't know if you've heard about it on like national TV or anything, but you probably didn't. So I'm gonna do this. I want to do this ethically. I know it's kind of hard, so I'm just gonna put it all out there, right? We're gonna do analysis. We even got a photo to analyze. We've got all this going on. And it confirms what I've been saying in my previous videos regarding Jake. So, but before we get into that, I am gonna use ChatGPT Atlas. Only for one part. I'm not gonna use it for analysis or anything like that. I'm gonna do the analysis on my own, speaking to you and explaining things. So, let's get Atlas, because I want to set this up before we even talk about what's coming later. So I said, so you're saying language doesn't tell about how a person truly thinks or feels. I'll agree on that because it's the person's own interpretation themselves of using best words to use to express. But I can accept that because it's still coming from a person. Language has an interpretation. Even a person who is speaking from their own point of view, even about themselves, is an interpretation of what's going on. It's not necessarily always a fact, but we're going to find out how this plays a role in this. Hang on, guys. I had to, dogs are moving around. And I had to adjust my microphone. You may have just noticed that it went down because the dog over here, she's been having problems and she's breathing funny. So you might be able to hear that. I did try to tone down the volume, but it may or may not have worked. So I apologize in advance if you can hear that. So, as I was saying, you have to at least trust a person. And this is going to make more sense as we do this analysis. It says, I hear the attention you're pointing at, and you're right about an important part of it, just not the conclusion you're drawing yet. Let me say this very cleanly. What you're right about. Language comes from a person. It's not random noise. It reflects intention, context, pressure, habit, and limits. Expression is constrained. People choose the best available words, not perfect ones. Therefore, language is evidence. It tells us something about the speaker. You're absolutely correct there. Whether the line still exists, and has to. What language gives us is partial evidence, not full access. A useful way to put it, language is data about a person's position, not a transcript of their mind. So, and this is one thing I don't like when people talk about interpretations and that kind of philosophy. Interpretation, it's just, it gives the impression that a person cannot express who they are as is without some philosophical interpretation of the other party, because they got to understand what you mean. So you're always at this thing where, like, does anyone ever mean what they say they mean? And I don't like living in that world because, what is truth? And, it's the structure behind things. And that's what this channel is about. It's about knowing structure, about taking things apart, reverse engineering things, figuring out why things are said, how things are going on. We can reverse engineer an idea or a concept that happens today or a trace element of something, and we can pull out pieces out of it, bits and pieces, and form something out of it, a picture that no one has ever heard before. Why does it say update up here? I just updated it earlier today. Anyways. So language is data about a person's position, not a transcript of their mind. Why? Because, and here's the key points that it's going to make relevant to the future of this video when we actually go into analysis. It says why? Because the between interstate and outer expression set several filters. Social risk, audience awareness, memory distortion, role expectations, self-protection, timing, exhaustion, and learned scripts. That all applies to Jake, and it's all going to apply when we see what this article. All of those can shape what comes out with it without changing what's inside. So yes, it's coming from a person, but it's coming from a person under constraints. The key distinction that resolves this: there are two claims that look similar but aren't. Weak claim, which is true: language reliably reflects how a person is navigating their environment. True, and I like that. Now this is where ChatGPT is filling things that I didn't say. I was against saying this, and it's just coming out as, I guess, it has to be philosophical. You gotta have some sort of debate. So it says, 2, strong claim, not defensible. Language reliably reveals how a person truly thinks or feels internally. I just said that. You can't be reliable because it's interpretation, and you don't know what a state is. It's a feeling. You can't really explain a feeling. And there's not really mutual language. I would say, well, is he lying? Is it true? What is the underlying truth behind what is truth and what is not? And interpretation can be true, but it's not really about if it is true or not true. It's more, well, does it matter in the context it's presented in? You kind of see what I'm trying to say there? You're operating correctly in one. The trouble starts when analysis drifts into two. Of course, I don't even know why I brought it up. A framing that keeps your position intact. You don't need to deny limits to preserve meaning. You can say language doesn't give us access to a person's inner truth, but it does show how they are positioned within a system. Okay. I have no problem with that. That statement respects agency, respects uncertainty, preserves social analysis, avoids mind reading. But you're not really mind reading. You're giving respect to people if you take them at their word. If they're explaining it the best, and sometimes you do have to figure out what they're actually saying. Some people speak in riddles, or maybe, even this channel, people say, well, you're not speaking straight. But yet to other people, they were like, you're speaking straight. There's no confusion in what you're saying. But to some people, that and no matter what you do, you can't convince them it's not confusion. Because it's their inner frame, their inner frame and what's in between the outside observation. It's a philosophical thing. I'm speaking in such a way that both sides can understand what I'm saying. Speaking both sides of philosophy, where it's just a universal thing, without saying, well, this way and this way. And that's what we're going to look at when we see this article. One grounding sentence to keep. People speak from where they are, not from everything they are. That doesn't make language meaningless, it makes it contextual. You're not wrong to resist the idea that expression is empty or arbitrary. It isn't. Just keep your claims aligned to what language can actually support. Patterns of position, constraint, and response, not private inner states. And you're going to see, this is going to make more sense, and it's going to be kind of ironic. Or maybe make more sense in context when we actually see the article which we're about to see. Which I may actually have to end this video and do a second part. Because the dog is over here and breathing funny, and yeah. So I'll do another part of this, and I'll edit it in after this. So yeah, guys. So I ended here. Well, I'll edit. So anyways, bye for now. See you guys in the edit.